need to make a proper, like, target farming Yama contracts video, just so that I can concisely put together how fucking angry I am at this whole system. Why is it so fucked? Okay. Radiant has 5 fights. There are 5 different fights that each have an individual contract that you need to enter the fight. All of these 5 fights are not the same difficulty. Each of them are kind of in a different category, truthfully. There are 2 that are free, one of them a little bit less free than the other. Forfeit's the easiest, Divine's second easiest. Then we have Bloodied, where you have to be good, but like not that good, because you fucking rip the guy. Bloodied is hard, but like it's fine. Then we have Sensory, which, scary, very difficult, fucked. Then we have Glyphic, very scary, very difficult, very fucked. 5 different fights, 5 different contracts. How do we obtain these contracts? We either kill Yama, or we do what I'm doing here. My duo Gim and I collectively killed 1,400 Yama. 1,400. By the end of our Yama, the contracts I was left with was 33 Bloodied Blows, 30-ish of Glyphic, 10 Sensory Clouding, 10 Forfeit Breath, and 6 Divine Severance. In 1,400 Yama, we rolled 6 Divine Severance. So we rolled that 1 out of 5 contract twice. So then you say to yourself, okay, I'm done Yama. I've gotten all the items from Yama. There's no point in me doing more Yama. I want to go do Radiant. So I go try Radiant. I take the contracts I have, and I attempt the fights that I have. Great. I got one of them done. Forfeit's done. Great. I got a second one done. Glyphic is done. Cool. Now I need 3 out of the 5 contracts. How do I get more of them? There's sigils above these demons' heads. Each one corresponds to one of the 5 contracts. Okay. How do I pick which sigil is above the head? See this purple one here? This purple one is for Forfeit Breath. That's the one I'm already done. So I don't need that one. Surely I can talk to someone and be like, hey buddy, I don't need this one. Can we rotate it? Nope. Okay, so what if I like actively kill them and try and get more Forfeit Breaths? Surely there's a way that I can trade them, do some kind of exchange. Maybe I pay like an Oathplate shard in a contract, and I can turn it into another contract. Oh no, there's no system like that. There's nothing. So, if it's purple above its head, what I have to do is kill demons until it's not purple over their head. Okay, cool. So I bring my cannon up here, and I start shooting the lesser demons. Let's keep killing them. Awesome. So it's purple right now. What's it gonna be next? Is it a rotation? Is it a cycle where it just goes through all 5 of them in order? That would make sense, right? No, absolutely it's not. So, it's purple right now. It was gold a second ago. Before that it was red. So that's Forfeit Breath, that's Glyphic, and that's Bloodied Blows. None of which I need because I'm done them. So I've been sat here cannoning lesser demons for 45 minutes with the wrong sigils over their head, hoping that when it rotates to the next one, it rolls 2 out of the 4, because there's 1 active, there's 5, so it can roll 4 options. 2 out of the 4 I need, 2 out of the 4 I don't. So every time it rotates, right now for me, it's a 50-50 to switch to one of the ones I need. Anyways, so it's a 50-50 to switch to one of the ones I need, right? there's nothing saying that it can't just go purple, red, purple, red, purple, red into perpetuity and then never give me the color I need. Right now, we've gotten 3 in a row of the wrong ones. If it rotates to another wrong one, then we'll still be here at the Lesser Demons. There is a small silver lining to this. Because I'm actively killing them with a cannon and with a crossbow, I'm meeting the conditions to get a slightly boosted rate for Divine Severance. That's why you see a few Divine Severances in my inventory, because I'm only killing them with crossbow and cannon up here. So even though they're on the wrong sigil, I've gotten 3 because we've been here for 45 minutes cannoning Lesser Demons, trying to rotate the sigil. 3 is very lucky, mind you. 3 is quite the high roll for these guys. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. That's why this system sucks. That's why it makes me very, very mad. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So basically it sounds like, as an Ironman, I want to practice on my main before wasting my contract so I don't have to spend time killing these. Yeah, that's the long and short of it. And then if you're me, you've staked out the position that main practice is for pussies when you were doing Blorva, because of course you did, and so yeah, no, there's no main practice allowed. We've got a raw dog meat. So you want to get Radiant Oathplate on your Ironman, huh? Well, don't worry. I am here to help. Now, when it comes to Yama contracts, the resources are incredibly slim. As you could tell by that clip, the frustration was building over a course of days spent in the Chasm of Fire. It felt like I was basically writing the wiki page in my own brain as it went along. There's about 4 sentences of information that we get on how to obtain these contracts outside of Yama, and it's not incredibly helpful. So, let's make it a little bit simpler for you guys. I'm gonna explain this in the simplest way possible and tell you the fastest way, in my opinion, to get all of the contracts you need to practice and send your Radiant Oathplate attempts. So we're going to pull up the wiki page for the Chasm of Fire. This is what's going to give us our first glance at how this system works. So we'll get into the cave in a second, but essentially, once you get in there, once you've been to Yama, all of the demons in the Chasm of Fire, once you attack them, have a sigil over their head. There is no way to rotate this sigil other than actively killing the demons. Leaving, hopping worlds, selling your soul to the devil, nothing you do will change the sigil other than killing 32 demons. So there are 5 sigils, 1 for each contract, each one having a different style or method that you need to use to kill the demons to meet the requirements to get the contract to drop. So one thing is, these drops are not on their drop table. It is only if they are killed with a certain style, then they have the ability to drop that specific contract. If you kill a demon with Mage, you will only ever get a Sensory Clouding contract. If you kill a demon with a Noxious Halberd, you will only ever get a Bloodied Blows contract. There are a few exceptions to this. You see down here, it says, C, it is unknown if using multiple methods at the same time, e.g. a 2-handed special attack, counts as using a single style or multiple. It counts as using a special attack. So if you're using claws and you're claw scratching, and then you kill a demon, you will get Bloodied Blows. If you're using claws and you claw spec, you will get a Glyphic Attenuation. I know this because for the first 6 hours of me trying to get Bloodied Blows, I was using a halberd and claws, and only one time did I ever get a Glyphic Attenuation contract during this entire grind was when I claw specced a demon and killed it. There's no way for it to be rolling for more than one contract at once. It's only checking to see if you've met the conditions on the final attack of killing that demon. So since that final attack was a special attack, it rolled Glyphic Attenuation rather than Bloodied Blows. So the 5 contracts we have, with Divine Severance, we have ranged weapons or cannonballs. For me, I ended up just using a ZCB, which was my best crossbow, with runite bolts. It says that bolt procs might count as a special attack when using ZCB, but honestly, I just didn't want to waste any bolts that were relevant, so I used runite bolts and sat in a safe spot so that my cannon could be treating the area like a multi-zone. So when you have it with Divine Severance, it's actually quite fast because you actually get to use a cannon. With Sensory Clouding, it wants you to kill them with Water or Demon Bane spells. If you have a Purging Staff, just cast Dark Demon Bane, AFK these bad boys with Mark of Darkness up. It is very quick compared to some of the other ones. Glyphic Attenuation is by far the worst one. Kill a demon with a special attack. If you're an Ironman trying to get this one, you probably don't have a Soul Reaper axe, so there's no like infinite spec weapon that you can use to do this one. My best recommendation, I would say, is just every single thing you can to increase your spec, being Lightbearer, Death Charge. You can bring Surge Pod if you need to top up your spec every so often, and then use the cheapest special attack option you can. Burning Claws are good. If you gotta go with a Fang spec or a DDS, something that's 25%, Purging Staff, whatever you gotta do. This is by far the worst of the 5, is the special attack one. Thankfully, it does increase the drop by 5x instead of 3x, but it's still not enough, as you will find out quickly when you start to farm your contracts. When it comes to Bloodied Blows, you want to use a 2-handed melee weapon. If you have a Noxious Halberd, this is going to be your best bet. Otherwise, a Sarah Sword or some other kind of 2-handed melee weapon. A Bludgeon, maybe. Something like that. Don't use your Scythe. Whatever you do, don't scythe these demons, please, for the love of God. And lastly, we have Forfeit Breath, which is kill it while it is bound or damaged by a bind spell. I would just Ice Barrage. I think Ice Barrage is the only bind spell you're gonna, or binding option that you're gonna have that actually does damage. So the big issue here is, like, you can bind it with some other things, but you need to kill it with the bind or kill it while it is bound. And it's much easier to just AFK with something that will always be meeting the requirement rather than focusing on binding the demon, etc. So just AFK with Ice Barrage. It's single combat, so it's gonna suck, but that's gonna be your best bet. Thankfully, Forfeit Breath is the easiest one, so you shouldn't have to farm too many of these. And the one last thing we'll look at before we leave this wiki page is this couple of sentences here. It essentially tells you what I was saying earlier in that rant, is the only way to cycle the symbol above the demons' heads is to kill 32 demons of the same type in the chasm. There's a little bonus, which is if you kill all 32 with the same style, the same correct style, so say your sigil is blue, and you kill all 32 with the Purging Staff, with Dark Demon Bane, you've killed all 32 with the correct condition. It gives you a chance, and let me tell you, it's not a great chance. It gives you a chance that that sigil will be extended. This happens to me maybe 20% of the time, 20 or 30% of the time. So you can expect every once in a while, if you're doing the same color sigil, it will extend quite a bit. This does mean one thing. If you're missing, say, Divine Severance and Sensory Clouding, or if you're missing Divine Severance and any of the other ones, I wouldn't use a cannon while you're farming the other sigil colors. You can do it to speed up the kills. However, if the cannon kills any of those demons, it will count as progress, or it will count as a kill that would have been a Divine Severance kill. So that wouldn't be a sigil streak. That would ruin your sigil streak. So say you're doing all of them with the Purging Staff, and the cannon picks up 1 or 2 of the kills, that sigil isn't going to be extended. So that's the only thing when it comes to the sigil extensions is canon is actually not something you want to use when you are actively on the correct sigil that you are trying to farm. There's one other wiki page I wanted to show you guys because I just think it's funny. I really wasn't kidding when I said we were in the dark on this. This is all we have for drop rates for the contracts from demons in the chasm. We have no way to compare or contrast how common they are from the higher level or the lower level demons. It's simply just uncommon. And the uncommon is if you're killing it correctly on the correct sigil. If you're killing it incorrectly, it's just rare. Just a very vague rare. So that's really all we have to work off. Thankfully, I put about 15 hours of paying attention and trying to figure out how the system works. So I'm going to bring some gear over there and we're going to show you just how you can go about doing this. So now that you understand how the system works, I'll show you how I was doing it, how I was taking care of my contracts. Me personally, I did not have to farm Glyphic Attenuation or Forfeit Breath. Those were the two that I was done with by the time I got to contract farming. So I only had to farm 3 of the options. This is what I was bringing after I had narrowed it down a little bit. But at first, what I was doing was bringing a full proselyte switch with my melee gear, and then I had a 4-way mage switch and a 4-way range switch because I had to go between those 3 styles. That's what I was doing at first. After I completed Bloodied, I switched to a more proper ranged gear setup, and then we went from there. But essentially, this is what I would do. Grab out all of my stuff here. Pretend I'm on the Arceus spellbook. You grab out your Thrall runes so that you have Dark Demon Bane. If you have a Tome of Fire, use it. I went through about 150k fire runes doing this. Use a Tome of Fire if you've got it. In addition to the Tome of Fire, the Ash Sanctifier. The double Ash roll is actually bugged, so it's going to give you 2 ashes from every demon no matter what, as long as you're killing them with one of the 5 conditions that exist, even if it's not the active sigil. So if you want a bunch of free passive prayer XP, bring along your Ash Sanctifier with you. What I was always bringing with me, I already have one of these, is my crafting cape, my house cape. If you have this, you can bring it with you. If you've got a bunch of the chasm tellies, this will teleport you straight downstairs to the black demons. I personally wasn't wasting them during this, but you can if you want to. So essentially, every time we would go there or reset aggro or need to bank, we're going right to DJR. Everyone knows how to get there, but I won't cut this part out just so that we get all of it. And we have the Chasm of Fire here. So we're going to turn on our NPC aggression timers so that we can AFK this. The lesser demons upstairs are aggressive, as well as the black demons downstairs. They're always going to be aggressive as long as you haven't waited your 10 minutes. So let's attack one right here and see it has a red sigil above its head. So the red sigil means bloodied blows. So imagine we've already done bloodied blows. We don't need this one. What we're going to do, we're going to set up our cannon. If you have the need for Divine Severance, use a cannon for these. If you don't have the need for Divine Severance, it's a choice. It's if you have a lot of cannonballs, feel free to speed up the wrong sigils while using a cannon and doing these. But personally, I wouldn't. The reason for that is a lot of my contracts ended up coming from the lesser demons. It's quite a lot rarer, especially when you're not on the active sigil, But think about it. If you're killing thousands of these to try and rotate it to the active sigil, you're going to get a third of the amount of contracts than you would have got if you were killing it on the regular, like if it were active. So you still have the chance of getting the contract as a drop, even if the sigil is not active. So if you need Divine Severance, use the cannon, because if the cannon gets a kill, then you might get a Divine Severance contract. If you don't need Divine Severance, I personally was just praying melee, standing in the middle, and AFKing these to try and rotate the sigil. That's the way I went about it, personally. I also ran out of cannonballs the more that I did this grind, but truthfully, I don't think it's worth it. I'll show you the trackers of the lesser demons and the black demons. I ended up killing more lesser demons than I did black demons over the entirety of the grind, because you can get that unlucky when the sigil changes. My worst streak was 7 sigil changes in a row before it went back to sensory clouding. Mind you, this was when I only had 1 contract left to farm, so it's the most likelihood that you're gonna get screwed. However, this can happen, and you will be sitting at the lesser demons for a long time, so I highly suggest killing them with a style that will give you a contract that you need. So only use your cannon if you do not have Divine Severance done. Let's say we just killed 32 of these lesser demons. Now we have the blue sigil active. Let's say I'm farming for the blue sigil. What I was doing is coming up here and chucking on that prey melee, and now you're just gonna AFK. So these have a significantly higher drop, a chance for contracts than the lesser demons, especially if you were on the active sigil. Now they're a lot slower to kill, so if you're not on an active sigil, I would not do the black demons. It's just not worth it. You want to try and just do the lessers and rotate it down to a sigil that you do want. However, when you do have the correct active sigil and you are killing these black demons, the rates are, I would say, not depressing. They're not great, but they're not depressing. Sometimes you'll go an entire rotation of a sigil without getting a single contract, but that's just RNG. Sometimes you'll get 3 to 5 in one rotation of the sigil. And if you're lucky, when you kill 32 black demons, the sigil won't change, and you don't have to leave. One thing that got me through this grind personally was hard clues. Now the black demons drop hard clues, so if you like stacking clues, pick them all up, drop them at the crafting guild, and sort them out when you're done your grind. That was enjoyable for me. Other than that, there's not too much that you're going to be gaining from this. You're going to be wasting a lot of runes, a lot of prayer pots, a lot of cannonballs, and if you don't have a tome of fire, then sorry, your fire rune stack is just absolutely gone. I do apologize, but at the end of the day, you get all these contracts done, and finally, your holy scythe won't look out of place. It truly is worth it, I'll say. Now, the fights in and of themselves, I had a lot of fun. I'll be uploading some stuff separately about the fights. I really did enjoy most of them. However, the contract farming, truthfully, if we had more information, I think it wouldn't be as bad. That's why I wanted to put this video out and clarify some of this stuff that is not quite clear. But the contract farming really is a system that needs to change. They said, we're not gonna do orbs again, we promise. Monkey paw curls, and we get 5 different orbs that are just worse. Honestly, I hope in future, if they design any difficult, cool bosses that are meant to be fought just for the sake of difficulty, to get something visual, I hope they don't restrict access to them with some arbitrary thing that you need to acquire before you're allowed to attempt the boss. I really enjoy fights and stuff like this. In playing Ironman, it always does feel unfortunate that I can't just buy attempts and go have fun and enjoy those bosses. I'm never a huge fan when that is the case, so I do hope in future that they stray away from systems like this, and I think they've learned their lesson. If you want to check me out live, we are live on Twitch every single day at twitch.tv/2factorrs. Thank you all for watching. If you learned something here, then leave a like, drop a sub, I would really appreciate it. Comment down below if there's something that is confusing in this game that you would like to see a guide for. We might need to do more of these, filling in the gray areas of the game. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Take care of yourselves, and I love ya, even if I don't know ya. Take care.